Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Crime Centric. This being a show where I talk about crime dramas that I watch. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Ray Donovan. Another great episode, which let's start with breaking everything down. Obviously, I love that whole plan that Ray kind of enacted with like getting his car towed so Lena could sneak in and get the box like that. That was pretty impressive. I was wondering how that was all going to be handled, but granted, we don't know. I think her name's Vicky. We don't know whatever happened to her, so I assume she's still in the hospital or whatever. I'm really ultimately trying to figure out why that happened. Like, last episode, I kind of chalked it up to be like they kind of had a split idea of what, like, I think Vicky probably had, like, Tom had his whole idea of, like, hey, I'm gonna get paid for this. Like, he has no morals, but maybe in Vicky's case, it's like, no. She's a terrible person. We're always gonna hold this over her. Or, because, like, it didn't seem like her and Tom are in this. It seemed like Tom was going back and double dipping kind of in some shape or form, trying to get like some profit out of it. It seemed like Vicky was probably doing it out of principle, like, no, like, Sam's not going to have her way. But Sam ended up getting her box back, which ultimately it seems like that screwed over Tom, because we find Tom and later on, Lena finds him hung, and that's like, ugh. And then, like, all the stuff is going. And then Ray later on goes in Sam's office after talking to her and telling her, he's like, well, you didn't have to come over this way to tell me, but I'm so glad you told me. It's like, oh, man, that's crazy. And he looks and sees that the number of, like, Oscars she has is the same. It's like, which isn't surprising. I'm like, yeah, I figured it was you. I didn't even need Ray to kind of put that together. I was like, I figured it was her, no one else, especially because everything else was missing. Because for her, it's like, in her mind, like, she's all about, like, don't mess with me. She said that from the very beginning, because it was like, that whole conversation, like, when her and Ray met, she was like, what is the moral of the story? He's like, yeah, don't cross me, essentially, was the moral of the story, essentially. So it's like, Tom shouldn't have done what he did. Like, it was fine screwing her over once, but going as far as he did, holding the evidence of, like, connected to her daughter, like, she holds that very personal and everything, so that made it even more personal. It's like, screw the Oscar and all that, but the fact of the matter is, like, seeing all her daughter's stuff, and it just brought all that back, and she's like, you're trying to play me? Nah, you're done. Which is interesting, because from the very beginning, I was like, Sam's going to be the new villain, which is, it's kind of hard to be like villain of like the seasons when it comes to Ray Donovan. There's just like, there's shitty people and there's less shitty people, I guess, in the like grand scheme of things. I mean, it's not like the Donovans are all like, peaches and creams. They got their own problems and messed up aspects. Well, obviously we'll dive into a little bit in this episode, but, yeah, like, it seems like this is the episode established, like, yeah, you don't fuck with Sam. Sam will get you. She'll get you hard. Like I said, specifically, I think it's because of that memory, like, just holding on to her daughter's things, especially, like, telling that story about the button that her daughter would just always button. She's like, oh, why do you do that? So, especially because the circumstances around her daughter dying were her own fault. So, it fuels her even more. It's like you're trying to take that tragedy and use it against me or something like that. Which even then you're kind of like, is it even those motivations? Is it like, oh, you tried to, like, how dare you use my daughter against me or something like that? Or is it purely like, no, you tried to screw me over, you tried to blackmail me? I got you. Like, I mean, it begs the question, like, where her motives fall in that line. And I guess going over the rest of the season, we'll probably be finding out slowly but surely. Like, but now Ray's like, oh, crap. Because they warned her from the beginning, is like, do not get mixed up with Sam. Now she's wanting to hire him, like, full time to kind of work specifically for her. Like, cause he's like a, the third party in this whole situation is Doug, because Doug's kind of the middleman in this situation. But now it's going to be like, you're going to work directly for me. And it's just like, oh boy. Because even later on in the episode, like, he's telling Natalie, yeah, Sam's not giving you an option. You need to do this. Almost like, you need to do this. Don't try to be like, oh, you're going to do your own thing. Like, because obviously the whole conversation with Doug and everything, because Doug was like, oh, I got kids of my own and everything. So he started backpedaling, which I was wondering, because last episode, I kind of painted, I was like, is she lying? Could it be something else? It's like, no. For her, she's like, she's not going to do the movie and she's going to have the baby. But Sam promises to get rid of Doug. But the moment she said that, I was like, what does she mean get rid of? Now that we've seen what she can do, obviously she didn't do it herself, but she hired someone else to do it. But just the fact that she's so cold-hearted too, because at the end of the episode, you see her almost looking at her Oscars, like drinking her drink, like so victorious. And it's interesting too, because I feel like we saw that side of Natalie too, because Natalie, see, I told you, and Ray's like, what? She's like, I always win. It's like, I don't like that. because that also makes it seem like everything she does is like it seems like her and Sam are kind of all alike, and maybe that's what they're trying to set up, that they both have that mentality of win, and ultimately maybe when it all comes down to it, it might end with them clashing, with Ray smack dab in the middle of them having to choose loyalty, because already you have Sam being like, oh, it sounds like you're on Natalie's side. I wonder why. So, and we also kind of got context on the whole him sleeping with Natalie thing. It was after, like, it wasn't just Abby being sick. The reason why that happened is because Abby was sick and turned down, like, she wasn't going to do treatments anymore, which, you know, her and Ray, like, it's like every time they get bad news, Ray's just like, hey, let's go on a trip. They were going somewhere, car broke down, they ended up ice skating, they were having fun, reminiscing and stuff. But then she kind of got sick, and it's one of the things, like, you can't run from it, and reality kind of set in, and she was like, it's kind of messed up. All the crap Ray does, like killing people and hanging off the sides of the building, she's like, whatever it is that you do, you're probably going to live to be 100. But me, I stayed back, I raised your children, I took care of you and everything that you're doing, I took care of your crazy ass family, and look at me, I'm gonna die in my 40s, and you can see her breaking down, like, there ain't no fixing this. I don't want treatment. I want to die being me. Like, I don't want to be frail and weak. I want to just be as strong as possible before I die. I don't want to die, like, you know, chemicals being pumped into me and stuff like that. So obviously Connor and Bridget kind of took it hard, especially Connor. Connor was like, no, he was like, F her. He's like, Ray was like, don't talk about your mom like that. He's like, F you, tried to walk away, and like swings on Ray and actually punches him in the nose. And Connor was like, ugh. But Ray was like, nah, it's good. I understand. Like, it's an emotional time, but it's like, that kind of caught me by surprise. There was a part of me that was halfway expecting Ray to punch him, but I was like, all right, it's good he restrained himself, because, I mean, he wouldn't hurt his kids intentionally. It was just like, no, I get it. You're mad, you're sad, like, you're feeling all these emotions, you're a teenager, so obviously, like, this is pretty heavy stuff to deal with, so, but I am curious, like, kind of along those lines of, like, the whole Natalie thing of, like, I mean, it doesn't make that situation even better, like, understanding what the context of why he did it. Because I was like, all right, you had sex with a lady because your wife is, like, sick. That's messed up. But it's like, now it's because to him, it's like Abby gave up. And it's just like the woman that he loves is about to leave. And it's just like, oh, you want me to play games and pretend like it's okay? It's not. You've already kind of established that it's not going to be okay. That's why you're quitting treatment and everything. And now it's just, I don't know. I mean, that's kind of Ray's deal. Like, when things kind of get a little too serious, he runs. That's kind of like the whole thing of what Abby brought up at the beginning. Like, oh, we're going on a trip. You can't run every time we hear bad news. So, like I said, it was such a beautiful thing. It was going to turn into a beautiful moment until, like, the car broke down. So, when she was initially walking away, I was like, why is she walking away? Don't tell me she's, like, having an hallucination or something. It turned out not to be that case, but it downright sucked, dude. Like I said, it doesn't make it any better, but you kind of understand. Doesn't make it okay, but you understand, like, what kind of, like I said, the context to it. But going back to Natalie, I am curious to see what they do with her going forward. Like, will Sam keep up for her end of the deal? I think she will, just because, like, for her, I guess it's a win-win situation. It's like, Ray, you did me a favor, so let me do you this favor type of thing, but you're going to owe me in the future. Maybe something like that. I don't know. I'm also curious to see what happens with the whole Vicky situation, like, whether Sam takes care of that. And like I said, also, how will she take care of Doug? Will she fire Doug? Will she threaten him? And what will go down? And then that goes back to this whole, like, Natalie winning thing. It's just like, I don't know. It seems like she's a little manipulative because she's like, oh, I got a bulldog like Ray in my corner. So I don't know. Don't want to think the worst, but it's just like the fact is that she said that. Just like, I mean, I guess you could argue it's like it's just her saying that offhandedly as a joke, but I don't know. I don't know. It's one of those things where you kind of like, you kind of have to read between the lines in that, but I don't know. I kind of was like, there was a part of me that was like, maybe she's lying about this whole baby thing, but then it's like, that turned out to be true because of the whole Doug thing. So, I mean, there's still a possibility that she's lying about the baby thing, but I don't know. I'm just waiting for the turnaround because I feel like, I don't know, I'm just waiting for it because it almost seems like she's got Ray wrapped around her finger. I think like Ray maybe thinks in some shape or form if he helps out Natalie through her situation, maybe it'll make up for the fact that it's messing, like in his eyes, messing up with things with Abby. I don't know. We'll just kind of have to wait and see on that front. Another big thing that happened this episode is the whole thing with Mickey. Bunchy got, being arrested and everything, and Frank stacking stuff on, like, top of it. Mickey's still not telling Ray about it, which kind of got me by surprise, but I'm like, of course he's still trying not to bother Ray with this whole situation. So he ends up trying to kill Avi himself, but then Avi knocks him out, puts him in the trunk, and he's about to go through the deal. I wonder, was he actually going to kill Mickey, or was he just making a deal so that once he gets the money, he can pay Mickey off and be like, I thought we were cool, here's some more money. I don't know what his plan was. That was crazy, the DEA showing up like that and everything, because like a bullet went by while Mickey was in the trunk. I was like, ooh! Literally was the exact sound I made when that bullet happened. I was like, whoa! That was super close. I was thinking like, oh man, is this where Avi's about to die? But it looks like Avi got away, and it looks like the dude that was buying the drugs from him, the dealer, ended up taking it, which Mickey was supposed to go pick up Maria, which we see that at the end of the episode, which I can only assume is going to end with Teresa finding out, and Teresa's going to be pissed. It's like, Bunchy, not only are you in jail, your dad wasn't here to pick up our daughter. It's like, like it's going to come back to Teresa, and Bunchy's going to be in a lot of trouble. Granted, things are slightly okay for Bunchy, considering the fact is that he's in prison with one of the guys that robbed him. Don't know how he's going to handle that situation. It's not going to change the fact is that his money's still on the outside, but it might be his way of kind of getting a little bit of revenge. But things are royally messed up. The only reason why things happen like this is because of Mickey and this whole Avi situation, but he wasn't going to kill Avi. I saw previews to the next episode. I won't spoil them exactly, but it's pertaining to that exact Avi situation that I'm like, okay, now it gets even more interesting. Like, it wasn't already interesting enough already. It's like we added that extra element, like, okay, how will things go from here? And I'm very interested to see what they do in the next episode with that, like, Avi storyline. Like, I'm curious, like, why did things kind of, like, take that? I'm still waiting for them to be like, because we're bouncing back and forth with the whole Abby situation. We haven't seen anything of, like, what happened back then with Avi. We saw tiny bits with the Donovans too, so we still are not completely clued in as to why things went down the way they did with Ray and everybody beating. Like I said, I thought like it was Terry too, but like the one I know for sure, I think it was Daryl and definitely Mickey. Maybe I don't remember like who was all involved in like that night Abby died. Like what kind of led Bridget to calling the cops on him and everything. I don't know. But I'm very interested to see what goes down. This might also end with a situation of like Child Protective Services being called in this particular situation with Bunchy, to see how that nevertheless, I'm very interested. I'm curious to see what goes down when that dude finds out about Mickey being in the trunk. How's that gonna like handle well? How did the DEA know to? Well, to be fair, the DEA probably been viewing him, keeping an eye on him for such a long time. That's probably why Frank wants this done so quickly, why he was kind of giving like Mickey a time limit and everything. Do it. Because if Avi dies, then maybe the trail back to him closes up, so there's no more follow back to him. So, Frank is neck deep in all of this. Not only just from like, oh, Avi, I brought him on for something else, and now he's stealing. It's like, no, you're stealing, and Avi's your actual partner in this, and not like he's screwing you over. You're partners, and now the trail is leading back to you, and you want to cut all ties with him and everything by killing him and taking care of any loose ends essentially. So very interested on that front. But there's something else that kind of went down this episode. Also, did not realize Bridget was in New York. It didn't correlate in my head. I should have actually known it wasn't in LA because the filter is different. Like when it's like very bluer. Obviously, but when compared to like the like bright, vibrant colors of like, Hollywood or, where is it LA or Hollywood they live? Nevertheless, California, where Ray and, the rest of the Donovan family is. But Terry ends up getting high with Smitty. They end up running into a lady, I think her name's Emily. She's like, oh my God, that surgery, right? It kind of hit us. And Jacob's like, yeah. Smitty, Jacob, whichever one. It's the same dude, so nevertheless. He's like, yeah, I actually didn't get it. What? Oh man, don't worry, you're gonna make it. It's like nice way to backpedal that. You sounded so sincere. No, you're good. You'll make it. It's like, oh God, that made things super awkward. And Terry walked away because it's like he found out like, oh, she had cancer. Her surgery worked, which then kind of goes, wait a minute. So it wasn't a whole, because I last episode thought of the theory that like, oh, the reason why Ray flipped out is because they went through the trouble of poisoning someone, making, in this case, it ended up being Jacob, getting him sick so he'd be off the list so that Abby would be put up there, but she died anyway. Like, that's what I was thinking, like something was connected to that, or maybe they pulled her back off the list, or whatever the case may be. This all ties into the fact is that she didn't want treatment anymore, but Terry was like, we got to tell your dad, and Bridget was like, no, we don't. Like, he needs to help out Smitty, that's it. Like, because she still blames her dad, because she's like, yeah, this is all dad's fault. Yes, he wanted to help mom, I get it, but it doesn't change the fact is that he is doing this to someone else, someone innocent. Like, mom wouldn't have wanted this. Mom decided she didn't want treatment. It's like, we couldn't have done anything. But Terry says something interesting when they were in the church. He's like, yeah, but it's my fault she died. And then I go back to like what he said like last episode, saying like what we did. So now I'm like, Terry is connected, and I'm thinking this might ultimately be what Ray snapped about, because he found out that Terry, like Abby, wanted Terry to give her medicine. That, like, she wanted to die of her own free will. She didn't want a sickness to take her. Like, always, you know, she even said to herself this episode, knowing how many, always constantly wondering how many hours you got left. Like, Ray, you can't understand what I'm going through with this whole situation. Never knowing when like death will strike you. So going out on her own terms, and maybe Terry helped her out, because I think out of anyone, Terry's the one that she kind of got closest to amongst the Donovans. You know, I feel like they'd kind of like talk a lot. Like, he relied on her, and I guess like ultimately it came down to, hey, could you do this for me, Terry? I'm in so much pain. And I think that's what he's going to ultimately is going to be revealed, because the fact is he keeps looking up at the Jesus, thing on a cross every time he looks up, and you see this guilty look in this. I'm like, so you are definitely connected, but now like maybe it's not directly with this whole like thing, because he was shocked when he found out about the surgery, so he didn't know about that was on the table. So now that kind of goes back to the point that maybe Ray did know, but they didn't get to it in time because they were going to. But Terry gave her the medicine, because now he feels even worse, because like there was a way to treat her, and if he had just waited, then maybe she would have been okay, even though she was all about not having surgery or getting treatment. But they see this lady, Emily, she's perfectly fine and everything. She could have gotten her surgery. So Ray was already working on it. So that's probably why it happened even more. Like, he found out, like, you gave her the pills, plus he found out about the surgery. Like, even the surgery wasn't a guaranteed thing. Like, he wanted anything that would save Abby's life. So probably finding out, like, even if he didn't know the effects, because probably knowing like it would have worked, probably would make him pissed even more about Terry. And even Terry knows about that, but he's like, Ray has the right to know that it would have worked. Maybe, I don't know, but that's my current theory about this whole situation. So we'll just have to wait to see whether anything comes about that or not. So I'm surprised Jacob didn't bring anything up. He was like, oh yeah, like him and Terry getting high, kind of cracking jokes. It's like, oh yeah, don't smoke, they'll kill you, and they're laughing at it, such a morbid joke. But it was like, I'm surprised he didn't go, oh yeah, you're her uncle, right? Oh man. Your brother, he put me in a situation. It's like, no, I think Jacob, he's pissed, I'm sure. Maybe things will change if he met Ray face to face. Maybe that would change things. But ultimately, I think it's also because it's like, hey, like, he did it because his wife was dying. Doesn't make it okay because I'm dying, but maybe on some level he understands. I mean, the fact is, he is hanging around Bridget a lot. Not unless that's some twisted way to get Bridget to eventually bring Ray around, because Ray will help with this, but then Smitty's all about like taking his revenge out on Ray. I don't know. Probably thinking too much around that. But like I said, I'm very curious to see like where that goes, whether this new theory ends up being the case or the old theory. But the old theory, like I said, that I came up with last episode, I think it's not going to be the case. It's probably going to be most likely that like, just the fact is that he said that what we did, and so like I said, it wasn't something Terry came up on his own. I'm sure out of anyone he had the biggest reservations, but Abby was like, no, I want to go out on my own. So like I said, we would just have to wait to see whether that's true or not. Like I said, overall, just a great episode. And I'm very interested to see what goes down in the next episode. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about in this episode. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.